Right, it's showtime. Welcome to Friday Live and Mail Call. So, John, give me my audio check, please. Everything's checking out on my side. Just need to make sure it's okay on y'all side. Maybe it's not okay on y'all side. Good. There you go, John. Thanks. You're free to go now, John. Your work is done. Uh, well, my first rant of the day. It's not a rant. Caboose Stop Hobby still hasn't figured out their UPS shipping as of a few minutes ago. So, no mail call today. I do have something inbound from another company due here on Monday, I believe. My Van Buren Street scene in Chicago. Actually, it's not. It is, but it's not. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. It'll be part of next week's mail call. And hopefully, I'm not holding my breath, I'll have a big package from Caboose Stop. It's, heck, by the time it ships, it may be 2 months worth of stuff instead of 1 month. Well, John, you know you're always welcome to hang out. I don't have a whole lot on the docket today. I can't even run trains other than the street scene in Aurora because I've got everything emptied out here in Union Station. And you can see all my materials there, and I'm still working. If you're following the Tip of the Day series, I'm still working on Chicago, the Van Buren Street. Let me swing this one back around. And that way you get to look at it from both ends. And I've got the bridges taken out right now because after the live stream, I'm going to get in there and add some shrubbery, dead shrubbery, and et cetera, et cetera. Is that Lee that just popped in? And it was. Hey, Lee. So, anyway, I think the scene's looking good. That green, the grass, the static grass there, is greener on screen than it is live. It's a duller green live. It just has to do with the white balance and coloration of cameras. And as it should be. It shouldn't be bright green being recessed down there with limited sunlight. So, yeah, Joe. Better call. It's probably getting full. May end up getting 2 boxes. I know, let's put it this way. I got the total as of not this last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before. And it's twice as much as what any previous box was. So, there's a lot of stuff in there. A lot of stuff, some stuff I need for Van Buren Street. So, and a lot of stuff I need for the Union Station, but I'm not working on that yet, so there's no big hurry. No big hurry. I like to accumulate things and get at least the majority of what I need before I start on something. There's nothing worse than starting on something and you get to the point and you're going, oh, crap. I need to get some of this. And then you're waiting for a week or so to find it. By all means, Lee, continue working on the layout. Probably only going to be on an hour today, since I don't have anything. I don't think I have anything. Let me double check. Nope. Nothing there. Nothing there. And nothing up there. So, no, I don't have anything. Hey, was anybody on Derailed Daryl's live stream Wednesday night? It so reminded me of my other hobby, koi. When everybody trying to help somebody, 9 times out of 10, it's an exercise in futility. Like in koi, everybody gets on the internet. Oh, I got a sick fish, and what do I do? And the first thing you ask them, well, do you have a microscope so you can do a scrape and scope and see what if you got parasites, and if so, what parasites, so you know what to treat them with. But no, everybody just wants to throw a bunch of chemicals in a pot. It's a like I said, exercise in futility. There's some simple things in model railroading, and I guess most of us just have to learn through the school of hard knocks over time. But having a meter, a multimeter, is one tool you kind of have to track down shorts. Hey, Anthony Dodge, welcome. And an alligator clipped leads are nice, or even just some wire with bare ends, where you can jumper across track if you got a dead section of track where you can jumper across to see if that solves your problem. Some simple stuff like that. And then based on the school of hard knocks, switches are always problematic. And I've shown this before a bunch of times, but you can never overdo something like this. So the switches. When I buy a switch, whether it's Electrofrog or Insulfrog, it doesn't matter. The first thing I do is jumper the leads. See how that's jumpered across? I never, ever rely on these points to transmit the electricity. I just don't do it. Don't believe in it. If you're going to have a problem, that's going to be the cause. You jumper it across, no more issues. Okay, your switch is live. This happens to be an Electrofrog. That's why it's got this little wire here. Even an Insulfrog, I still jumper them. Like I said, it solves 99% of connectivity issues on a switch. The other thing you do is solder the rail joiners. All right. And soldering can be intimidating for some. You just have to learn it. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Less is more, by the way. Hey, JB. How you doing, John? John B. I guess one of the frustrating things about trying to help people is everybody wants to help somebody, and then there's people that just can't help them online. Either they don't have the tools, or they don't have. They're so new in the hobby, they don't have the basic knowledge of troubleshooting. And I'm not being critical of people. I mean, we all go through learning curves, and it's just that's where clubs come in handy. You know, you go to a club, people can show you, and if you have a problem, somebody can come over and help. Especially when you're a newcomer. Once you get some skills and you get some tools and know-how, and if you need help with with what I call the fault tree process, that's simple enough. It's a simple logic process of tracking down issues, faults. So those are my rants. Rant. So what's everybody doing this weekend? Any fancy train shows going on? Timonium last weekend. We had one here, 2 weeks ago? The regional NMRA in Plant City, Florida, but I couldn't make it to that. I had just had a knee replacement, and I tell you what, I showed a picture of the results of that, and how straight her leg is now compared to how bow-legged she was before. And hell, she's walking around. She's walking better now, 2 weeks post-surgery, all right, than she was going into it. So, yeah, for those who don't know, Lee has a live stream on Sundays at noon Eastern. All right, and it's basically just a bunch of people that get together to model. The TCA show in York. There you go. Ooh, neck surgery on Monday. Ooh, that is not going to be fun, John. Steve's smoking some ribs. Get in the backyard. Winterized. Yeah, I should probably get my backyard winterized. Well, check that. I don't have a winter, so. Rubbing it in. Yeah, you guys aren't going to want to come to my Friday live streams come about February or January and February. I'm telling you, it's 80 degrees outside and sunny, and it's down below freezing in your locations. Snow is 3 feet deep. Well, I guess that's good, John. Yeah, Anthony, you better do a song where Joyce doesn't slap you upside the head. Your visitors are always welcome. We'll operate some trains. Anybody remember a few weeks ago when I showed what not to do with a paint booth? Ooh, see, taking something off that I shouldn't take off. Okay. Anyway, what I'm fiddling with here is I did something really stupid. Just not uncommon. I was making trees here a couple months ago, maybe longer. And I was using a spray adhesive, and I was doing it here in my spray booth, which is right down there. And there's spray adhesive all over the inside of the spray booth that I'm having to peel off slowly but surely. That would be cool. Monon works. Let's see. Monon went into Dearborn Street Station, I think. Let's look that one up, shall we? Monon, Chicago passenger. Yep. Dearborn Street Station. Yay! You know, that's something I didn't realize. I did not realize that the Louisville and Nashville and Monon were virtually the same thing. One became the other. I did not know that until I'm looking here on Wikipedia page. Boy, I'm impressing myself today to remember Monon went into Dearborn Street Station, since Dearborn Street Station closed back in the 70s. Grand Trunk went into in Dearborn Street Station. Santa Fe originally went into Dearborn Street Station. It's pretty cool. Hey, Mystic. Yeah, that's what it said, John. I did not realize that though. We used to take the Grand Trunk. My mom's family, my grandma and all my aunts and uncles lived up in Flint, Michigan area. So we would hop the train at Dearborn. My dad would take us down to Dearborn Street Station, and my mom, my brother, and I get on the train, and we would go up to Flint, Michigan for a couple of weeks, and then my dad would drive up and spend a week on vacation. So we'd be there for 3 or 4 weeks and have a vacation. We'd take the train one way. So that's how I knew. Now, all right, here's a good question. Here's a trivia question. What TV show mentions oh man, I'm trying to find a way to word this into a trivia question. Let's just do it this way. What restaurant did Hawkeye Pierce from MASH reference that was across the street from Dearborn Street Station? That restaurant was actually across the street and down a little bit. Did Hawkeye Pierce from MASH reference across the way from Dearborn Street Station? Oh, John! Ding, 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 ding. Adam's Ribs. You got it. John SRV is the winner. I don't have a prize for you, though, John. Sorry. Except bragging rights. You got it. And it actually existed, too, by the way. Yes, Rick, you're right. It was a rib place. Adam's Ribs. I forget what year it closed. I think it actually closed before Dearborn Street Station closed. So. All right. Oh, I'm tired. I woke up at 0:30 this morning, 12:30 a.m. Most people are probably going to bed. I'm waking up. So we're way more than halfway through my day. It's funny. I woke up one morning at 12:30, got online and saw there was a live stream going on. This is a month or two back, and it was Robert, the Flying Crow, and Jason, the Train Freak. They're doing a switching session still. It was funny. Had to be there. John, you lived in Naperville from 73 to 75? Really? Wow. I grew up in Downers Grove. Graduated high school in 76 from Downers South. I worked, you may or may not remember, I don't know how old you were back then, John, but at the intersection of Ogden Avenue and Main Street in Lisle, there was a Texaco station, right? And I worked there for, worked there my senior year of high school, 76. And I worked there when I was home from college. I worked there for 77, 78, and maybe even part of 79. So that's what I said, Steve WWW. That was featured on MASH. That's how I worded the question. You must have been sleeping, Steve. Tony Pacos. I don't know what that is. It's after my time. I think my favorite restaurant in all of Chicago was it's still there, but it's not like it used to be. Right next door to the Federal Building, downtown Chicago. And it's a place called the Berghoff. Everybody just calls it Berghoff's. It's a German restaurant. And back in the day, until the IRS got on them, and the Department of Labor, all the waiters were. Oh, okay. That makes sense, Anthony. Anyway, the Berghoff was a German restaurant, and all of the waiters were independent contractors. They would buy the food, the meals, special coins from the restaurant, and then you paid the server. Okay. And it was a weird setup, but it was pretty cool because you'd get to look at their coins and do all kinds of stuff, and it was excellent service. And then they had a men's bar, okay, upstairs that catered to the businessmen. And until like 1969, I think, women were not allowed in it. Of course, there was all kinds of protests and so forth. So being right next door to the Federal Building, they were forced to open it up to women. And I remember in 75 taking my girlfriend, and we met my dad downtown for lunch. And I told her the story. She wanted to go into the men's bar, which was legal and everything. And we went in there, and there was only one other woman in there. And all the men just kind of sit there and frown at the two women that were in there, making it it was the patrons that was making it very uncomfortable for the ladies to go in there. And, I don't know when or if it finally changed or not. Oh yeah, the Italian beef sandwich is a staple in Chicago. And there used to be all these little mom and pop places all over Chicago serving Italian beef, Italian sausage, meatball sandwiches, and of course Vienna beef hot dogs, the true Chicago style hot dog. And but there's one little place that started out in Villa Park, which was right by my hometown, Downers Grove and Lombard and Elmhurst, right in that area. And it started out as the hot dog stand or wagon, hot dog wagon, and it was a little like little tiny house thing that was on a trailer. And it eventually turned into what is now known as Portillo's, which is the place in Chicago. And they're all over the place now. As a matter of fact, there's even one down here in Tampa. So I get a taste of home, and it's just every bit as good here as it is up there. It's true Chicago style. So, yep. Can't beat a Chicago Italian beef sandwich with sweet peppers. You can get hot peppers on it, but I like sweet peppers. Soaked in the juice, absolutely. Whenever my brother or my son, whoever comes to visit us that knows Chicago, the first thing they want is Portillo's. Heck, when my brother flies in, we can't make it from the airport to my house without going to Portillo's first. So. Your dad was a journalist? Cool. My mom worked for the local paper, Downers Grove Reporter. All right, John, SRV number 2. You have a great weekend. I tell you what, Stephen, it's still good down here. Maybe it's one of those deals that no matter how bad it is, it still tastes good. It's kind of like when Uno's franchised their pizza, and they had one out in Downers Grove, and it just was not the same. And it was all the same ingredients, exactly the same, cooked the same way, and nobody could figure out why it wasn't as good in Downers Grove as it was in downtown Chicago. And they finally figured it out. It was before the Deep Water Project was done, tying in all the suburbs to Lake Michigan and the same water Chicago has, and it was the water. All right, Lake Michigan water was far, far softer than the well water out in the western suburbs, and that made a big difference in the Chicago deep dish pizza. Yeah, Giordano's is good pizza. That's good pizza. It's hard to beat. You know, they here in Tampa, they'll advertise Chicago style deep dish pizza, and trust me, they're no good. Not down here in Tampa. Nope. Oh, the pump room, yeah, absolutely. Huh? When you say Omni Ambassador East, you got to remember I left there back in the 80s, and it was a different hotel name anyway. But yeah, everybody knows the pump room in Chicago. It's like there's another one of my favorite places to eat in the Loop is a Greek place called Miller's Pub. But their lease was due to run out, and 1 week before their lease ran out, it burned. They had a fire. So they had to move around the corner, and guess what? The insurance paid for the move. Tell me that wasn't prearranged. I had a friend that was ATF agent in Chicago. He used to tell me all kinds of fun stories about the mob. And the U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois put all the governors in prison, and well, not all. The last one, Goyevich, he was actually the defense attorney for after he off into private practice. Anyway, he's another friend of mine too. And then I dated a girl who was dating Sam Giancana's son. Sam Giancana was the head of the Chicago mob, 50s, early 60s. So we're talking about everything Chicago. And I guess the only way we can relate it to the model railroad is that I modeled Chicago. Oh yeah, John, absolutely. There was a out in Lisle, all right. There was a place called the King's something or another. King's Palace, right at 53 and what is now Interstate 88 used to be the East-West Tollway, and of course it burned to the ground. It retired by burning to the ground. I think it became a car dealership. All right, John, you have a great day. Sloop John B. So what other topics do we have today, guys? Special with your railroads? Want to see me pop a vein or watch me get frustrated? Just discuss a problem with the railroad you expect everybody to help you fix. That'll do it. And not have the tools to diagnose it with. Yeah, kind of a boring stream today, guys. My apologies. But I can't have a mail call if I don't have a mail call. No. I gave up on the Bears in 1970-ish. All right. When I was in Chicago, no Chicago team could win a title. Okay. Of course, everybody knows the Cubs. The Bears couldn't win anything. I left Chicago in 1982. Okay. Bears couldn't win. The Bulls weren't winning. The Blackhawks weren't winning. The Cubs nor Sox were winning. All right. So in football, I became a Dallas Cowboy fan the year that they lost to the Colts. Is that right? They lost to the Colts? Yeah, I think so. And I became a huge Roger Staubach fan. Okay. And that was like 1970, 1971-ish. I think 70. Because the following year we went to Dallas and we took a tour after they won the Super Bowl, took a tour of the old Texas Stadium. So I became a Dallas Cowboy fan. Now, as the story goes, when I moved away from Chicago, what happened? The Bears win a Super Bowl. All right. The Bulls, look at the Bulls and how many titles they won. The Blackhawks win the Stanley Cup. I mean, the White Sox win a World Series. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So the joke was always in my family, send Steve somewhere and watch the teams crumble. So I would go to Texas. I moved to Texas, all right, in 1982. What happens? Cowboys go to crap. I mean, they go to crap. And couldn't win anything. And so we left. I got promoted. We moved out of San Antonio to Oklahoma City in 1990. Okay, what happens in the 90s with the Cowboys? Multiple Super Bowl wins, right? Well, we're in Oklahoma, home of the Sooners, national champions throughout a lot of the 80s. What happens to them in the 90s? They go to crap, okay? They just went to crap. And so in 2000, we moved out of Oklahoma and back to Texas. what happens to the Cowboys? They go to crap. They just literally went to crap. And during the early late 90s, early 2000s, Green Bay, Brett Favre were doing so well. Well, what happens? We moved to Wisconsin in 2003. All right, and Green Bay goes to crap. We moved back to Illinois, and actually we went to Tennessee. And Tennessee didn't have anybody doing anything anyway. Titans, okay, who did well, but went to crap when we moved there. Then we moved back to Illinois, okay, and everything went to crap again. That was in 2007. So, don't. The only thing, what finally broke the string is we've been here in Tampa when the Bolts have won multiple Stanley Cups, and we've been here in Tampa when Tampa Bay has won. We've been here when the Rays have won. So maybe we're breaking the string of negativity wherever we move. Really, Containers probably down in Hopkins. Huge intermodal yard down there in Hopkins on the southwest, right along the Chicago River. What is it, south of LaGrange? Yeah, when the BNSF, the BN and the Santa Fe combined, there were a lot of synergies, because as you got into the Chicago area, up towards Westchester, Berwyn Cicero was a big Burlington yard, and then you had the big Santa Fe yard down in Hopkins, and you had Electromotive right in between them. Electromotive EMD. Chicago Northwestern, which is now the Union Pacific, they have a big yard up, and I don't know what town they call it. It could be Elmhurst, Franklin Park. It could be any number of different things, but it's right underneath. It goes right underneath the Tri-State Interstate 294, just south of O'Hare Airport, and it's a huge, huge, huge yard. Yeah, we called it. I don't think they won in baseball that year. They were in the World Series, but I don't think they won the World Series. And we called it Champa Bay. Instead of Tampa Bay, we called it Champa Bay. Because you got to understand, the teams are based, they're Tampa or Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're not Tampa Buccaneers. And like the Rays, their stadium is actually over in St. Pete. So. Yep, Chicago Northwestern, favorite railroad. Yep, I can understand that. Chicago Northwestern was the pioneer of the bi-level commuter cars back in the mid-50s, followed very closely by the CB&Q Burlington. I don't remember. Mystic, I don't know what year it was. I know it was after it had to be 2017 or later, because we were living here. So. I don't really pay attention that much to professional sports anymore. I try to make it to one of the Rays games a year. Just either the White Sox or Cubs, if they're playing here at home, either of those teams. I don't think they played either this year here. And I'm not a big hockey fan. I was in my early college years, late high school years, but I just drifted away from it. I was at the game where hockey was always a tough sport, don't get me wrong, but it became brutal. I mean, literally brutal in 1960, I think it was 68, 69. Keith Magnuson with the Blackhawks was kind of the model for enforcers, and he got into it and turned the stadium ice, the old Chicago Stadium, turned it blood red. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible, brutal fight. So it made the cover of Sports Illustrated. And I just, I don't want to go watch a fight. I want to go watch sport. So I guess I'm old school. I don't. There should be role models, not being a fighter is not a role model to me. Now, boxing's different story. But fighting within another sport, it's unsportsmanlike. My opinion. Everybody can have their own. I understand. Where was that at, Steven? In the Chicago neighborhood or further west? Or I guess it could be northwest. Broad Street Billies. Yeah, Steven, sounds like you had a similar childhood to me. I lived 5 or 6 blocks off of the Burlington tracks. Oh, in southeast Wisconsin. Okay. I lived up in Milton, Wisconsin, outside of Janesville for a while. Used to go up to Lake Geneva all the time when Illinois was 19 for beer and wine and Wisconsin was 18. Run up to Lake Geneva and party. Then there's a drag strip up there. Is it Union Grove, Wisconsin, where the drag strip was? Went up there once. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, the Great Lakes Dragway. Okay. In Union Grove, Wisconsin, where the great ones run. Still remember the radio it has. The other one, there are 3 drag strips that I knew of that kind of ringed the city. Union Grove, Wisconsin. Then there was US 30 drag strip down in Indiana. And then for a while, it closed up pretty quick. It was right just west of Naperville, west of Illinois 59, out by the old Skylark Drive-In, which is now Fox Valley area. Mystic. In Naperville, it was 3 tracks, unless there was a siding. But the Burlington CB&Q had a 3-track, what was referred to as the race track, between Aurora and downtown Chicago. And the center track was known as the Zephyr track. And the reason they had 3 was the track on the north side was the outbound traffic. Track on the south side was the inbound traffic, local, and then the main line right down the center of it was for Zephyr traffic. In either way, you know, they would divert trains around, and it really kept congestion from occurring. They could move a lot of trains in and out of Chicago on that line. Boy, those would be the days, wouldn't it, Stephen? Yeah, you know, nowadays people go out to Railfan and they can sit out by the tracks for hours and catch one, maybe two trains. On the Burlington racetrack, I mean, you had trains going by constantly. I mean, especially in the late, in the evenings and early mornings with all the commuter traffic. I mean, commuter trains are running all day long, but they're more frequent during the rush hours. And then you had, back in the day, nowadays you only have Amtrak. Back in the day, you had multiple Zephyrs going in and out of Chicago. You know, the Nebraska Zephyr, the California Zephyr. There are a bunch of them. Anyway, you also had the Chicago Blackhawk. You had the Empire Builder. You had the North Coast Limited. All of those trains and more were flying in and out of Chicago in both directions. It was cool back in the 60s. Hey, Randall. Welcome, welcome. Interesting fact that I didn't even realize growing up. The terminus for commuter trains up until 1957 was Downers Grove. Okay, and the last steam commuter train was in September of 57. And I've told the story. My dad was on it, blah, blah, blah. That's not my point. I didn't realize that there was actually a turntable in Downers Grove to turn the commuter trains around, the engines around. And they used that turntable apparently up until the mid-60s when they came out with cab coaches for the commuter trains. And that, therefore, the E-units were always on the westbound side of the train, and then the cabs were always on the eastbound side. So that when they pulled into Union Station, the cars would all be, the engines would be closer to the outside. I didn't realize that they had a turntable there. It wasn't until I saw somebody mention it, and then I looked it up on Google, and you could see where it was still on Google Maps or Google Earth. Pretty cool. Anyway, no roundhouse. You know, I have a turntable and a roundhouse in my Downers Grove. There was no roundhouse in Downers Grove. I just modeled it anyway. There was a roundhouse out in Aurora, which is where in the whatever year it was, 60s, mid to early 60s, when they started extending commuter train out past Downers Grove. And they may have run some, but the main body of the commuters stopped in Downers Grove. I don't know the whole story there, but it's interesting. Oh, you got to see the grinder, huh, Randall? Have you seen it running down the tracks, sparking everything up? All right. Enough Chicago. Change over to this. Tip of day that's coming out Tuesday will be watching me how I did some of the scenic stuff here. All right. How I blended my static grasses into these areas, ballasting, did that, and then I've got to finish it up with how I'm making shrubbery. So I got some different colored lichens. I've got some clump foliage. I have some different what the hell? Some different turf. I'm sorry, brain fart. Some other types of static grass I'm going to use on some bushes. All right, to change things up there and finish out the scenic portion. Then I can add some people. I've got some detail stuff, but it's coming. It's in that package from Caboose Stop. So we'll find out when it's working, Randall. Go out and watch that. I've never seen it. I just seen the videos. It's cool as hell, I think. I'm not a big rail fan guy, just because I don't want to sit for hours waiting for a train. But that would be one I'd that I'd want to see, because that's just something unusual and cool. Now I have gone and watched the Tropicana juice train go by. It goes by about 5 miles down the road, 5 or 6 miles down the road. Jason had a cool one. He had, God, what was it? It was, neither one of us knew what it was until he looked it up. It was an emergency relief train. I don't know. It was pretty cool. Guys, I'm gonna cut. I hate to do this, but oh, by the way, 2:30. Edward Happy Valley Hobbies has his live stream, and of course, Anthony has his at 3:30 Eastern. And unfortunately, I've got conference calls going on, but I'm going to try making Anthony's, if at all possible, at least for a portion of it. So with that, guys, I'm going to cut her short until at least I can get. Yeah, I can imagine, Randall. But if you do, by all means, watch it. Get video, because it's pretty cool. With that, guys, I'm going to sign her off for today. It's a short one. But next week, if Caboose Stop Hobbies gets their UPS shipping in order, and what the problem is, they're still using the old handwritten UPS book labels, and of course, hardly anybody does that anymore. So UPS hasn't gotten them they ran out, and then UPS hasn't gotten them a new book yet, and they haven't figured out, or they don't want to figure out how to do it on the computer. But I think they're going on 4 weeks now without shipping. So, but you gotta love Carol and the crew. And I tell everybody I'm virtuous, because patience is a virtue, and I'm being patient. With that, guys, I'll see y'all later, and y'all have a great day. Bye.